from in my skin, a runaway tide from innocence, keeping my head down, keeping my head down.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome into another second ever Private Eye with Macro and me, EvrilFox.
Hello.
So,
Hopefully this time we have less scuff than the last one, and I have power this time. This is a plus.
that was the ultimate scuff last week. Like the
It
cherry
really
on top
was.
scuff.
Not only were we starting 10 minutes late, but I lost power. It was a great time.
I was having a mini freak out because some of my systems weren't working. So it was kind of a smack dash rush together. But yeah, if you couldn't guess from the apparently way too easy clue in my Discord, and also by what's on the screen right now, we're doing Reanimal today.
Yes.
This one will hopefully be a lot easier because there's not 5 freaking chapters to go through
And no script.
and no script. So, Reanimal's been out what, for about a month and a half now? No,
It
it came
came
out in
out
February.
February 13th,
And
so a month and a
Reanimal,
week.
right. And Reanimal is actually made by the same devs that did Little Nightmares 1 and 2, but not Little Nightmares 3. So you'll notice a lot of similarities as we go through as far as character styles, plot lines, general overall cringy, creepy, psychological fear,
War,
war, but
horror.
horror. But in this game, you start off. There are 4 orphan kids. There are the lovely names. There's Hood.
Very descriptive.
Yes. There's Hood, which I found out is actually a she. Bandage, Bucket, and then our 2 main characters, because Reanimal is in fact a co-op. I don't believe you can. Can you even play it single player?
You can play it single player, but then it's all AI. The other character you don't play as is AI.
Gotcha, gotcha. And you have the boy and the girl. So, what's really interesting is the boy and the girl are the main characters. Here comes the boy. They're really interesting because you don't get to see either of their faces, but there's one major difference you might notice between all of these 5 characters and the girl, and that is the color scheme.
Yeah.
It
Sorry, I was
eh,
gonna jump in there for a
no,
minute.
go ahead. Go ahead and jump in.
So all of the characters, the girl is the only one that's whited out. Even her skin tone is a lot more mute and dull and what's the word? Fair compared to the other characters. She's just noticeably different right even in the beginning of the game. That's all I want to say.
I will also say she also in the entire game there are lights you can use, but she is the only one that has the lantern, which is the brightest light out of everything. Which symbolism, she's also the only one wearing a mask, which is only a partial face covering, rather than the, well, Hood, Bandage, Bucket, and the boy has a shroud on that I couldn't get a good picture of, but she is a rabbit and he is a boy. And he is a boy fox, actually. So the boy kind of has that distinction of already being off to a dark start where he is a fox versus a rabbit, a white rabbit of all things.
And
Bandage
on
look.
top of that, the
Mhm.
shroud that he wears is a burlap sack held onto his body with a rope tied in a hangman's noose.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is when we start off, you actually start off with the boy. There's no other characters, and you find yourself rowing across a large body of water, and it doesn't give you. It just jumps right in. It doesn't. There's very few voice lines in the entirety of this story. So let me pull up the video so you can see what I mean. Whoops.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Why is it? Okay. So,
Dear God.
dear God,
Sorry, Rex said this is a bucket. Sorry, I have to do it in the proper accent. This is a bucket.
this is a bucket. And
I'm,
now,
I could assume what you were thinking of, say you.
hello. Yay, more
Hi.
stuff. Where is my animal? Where is it?
Don't say scuff. I still have power. I don't need to lose that again.
You don't need to lose that again. Okay, let me see if I can get it to.
How does who see bucket? Great
Very
question.
carefully.
Don't know.
Let's see. Why is it not wanting to play? Well, while I figure that out, I'll bring this back up later, but while we figure that out, other than the kids, there are also. Oh, I know why it wasn't doing it. Never mind. I'm dumb. That's why. Okay, let's start this over then. Now, some of these videos don't have any music or sound to them, but as you can see, we start off in a boat following a red light. And red is there are a couple themes that you'll notice recurring over and over again, and one of them is the color red.
And another theme you can see coming back a lot of the time is also several white rabbits in a circle.
In addition to that, just adding and adding and adding, there are also numbers that are recurring, most notably the numbers 5 and 7. And yeah, you
Thank
saw that
God it's
right.
not 6 instead of 5.
Or 6, 7.
Don't. For the love of God.
But yeah, you're right. We did just pull her straight out of the water. Nobody knows where she came from. Nobody know. I don't. There's no clues as to how the boy knew she was there. How the light still works after being in the ocean. And there is
And the
one.
fact she almost strangled him.
Yes, that too. So I know it was kind of hard to see, but one of the first things she says to him is, "Where are the others?" And the boy responds with, "Don't know." And it is to this point that we find out that when she's talking about the others, she's talking about Hood, Bucket, and Bandage. Now, as with any good game, as we continue along, and I'll let Mech explain these because I know he was super excited about these, we of course run into some bosses and also monsters.
Yes, we love the monsters. So, the first monster we encounter in the entire game is the top left, a man known as the Sniffer. Ironically, his abilities and what he does has nothing to do with smelling. So what he does is he can contort his body as if it's not his own. It's like he's wearing a suit of skin. Everything's oversized. His skin doesn't fit quite proper, as you can see in the photo. His head's kind of twisted and elongated. Um, he's taller than most of the people that we see. Even later in the game, when we find the military, spoiler alert, he is even taller than the humans in that. Um, we don't know what his special thing that he can do for some reason is use the carcasses of bloated bodies found in the water. He can crawl into their chest cavities and use them to get from one body to another like a teleporting system. The next creature we find is the pelican. Um, it is the first instance of an animal that we see in this game. Um, for some reason, it's 1/4 the size of a lighthouse. It scared Everil very much. Um,
Terrifying.
it can't really fly. It kind of struggles to stay airborne. It can The pouch on the pelican is elongated to match the length of its body. It it's very carnivorous, very aggressive. For some reason, it can command the surrounding seagulls to the point that they can cause a kamikaze and suicide dive bomb into the ground, breaking their own necks. The
Which is
third
even more
monster that we
terrifying.
find, yes, which is even worse. The third monster we come across is the Spider Mother. Although very spider-like in appearance, does have human-like qualities. It's her front hands or legs are human hands. For some reason, she also has the ability to spit up what is known as the Spider Child. It's a bunch of children that look like they're made out of a weird webbing or stone of some sort. When they're in the sun, they just freeze stiff and just stop moving. There's no real visible head. Um, Other than that, covered in hair, giant orifice of a mouth, and is very much the stealth hunter of the spiders.
And if you'll give me a minute, Mecker, I actually have a
Mhm.
really creepy deaky fit of her. That is.
Yeah, there you go. This here, she spits up the spider children. She's very coming down from where we don't see her. Is the size of this spiral staircase.
One thing I didn't notice is she's got 8 arms like a spider, but she's only got 2 hands, and the rest of them are kind of stubs, almost like a
Spider
crab. Spiders are terrifying. Now, what's interesting is right here, you notice that the spider children made it through. However, they did not follow through because what's also interesting is it doesn't seem to affect the spider mother. But if the spider children enter the light, they turn into like stone or dust, like statues. They just stop, and you can actually walk up to them and smash them into pieces, much like gargoyles, which is very interesting.
Yes. Next, after the spider mother, we have the brook horse. This one, in my opinion, is probably my favorite creature in this game. The brook horse is found for a very short period of the game, quite literally like a 5 minute puzzle section if you know what you're doing. Me and Nix did not. We were stuck there for 35 minutes. Um, it's a amphibious type of creature, although it is called a horse. It's amphibious, a giant skeletal horse at that, with long human-like arms, giant detached eyes, things of that nature. Um, the the interesting bit that have about this is the brook horse is not just a name. Did you know that, Everil?
I did not.
So the brook horse, by name, is actually a Scandinavian folklore. The brook horse in Scandinavian folklore takes the form of a majestic white horse more often than not, and is spotted around water. And it tricks children and travelers into riding it, then rushes into a lake or a river, stretching its back to fit more victims and drowning them.
And what's interesting about this brook horse is, as you'll see in the video here, um, for some reason, it just stays in the distance and it just observes and watches. And it's until you get too close. And this is a hidden scene. If you do
But
not,
like the Scandinavian folklore, it drowns you.
right. And it also snaps the boat in half, which is interesting. Um, One of the things that I found the most terrifying out of it is not just the fact that it's this horse-like skeletal drowning, it's the fact that its eyes are very realistic.
Oh yeah,
And
for some reason unnaturally uncanny eyes.
And they actually play a part in the game that I did not think to add until just now with the spiral whale. Just like you would imagine, it's a gigantic whale, but for some reason it's in a giant spiral and it has its eyes plucked out. And there's a whole wonderful underwater scene where you have to go through caverns, find the brook horse, rip his eyeball out, and bring it back to the spiral whale.
Unsure as to why, the eye once put into the spiral whale just works. Nothing else is needed.
Very, very,
For
very
some
upset with
reason,
that is the
very.
Cyclops.
I wish that was real life, but that's neither here nor there. Uh, for some reason, these creatures have the ability to share body parts without repercussion.
And the fact that they are all intertwined might give the idea, based off the name of the game itself, Reanimal, that they're all connected in some way, which, ew, panic response, extreme. Um, but the idea here is these are actually side bosses. The actual biggest, and there are some words and different names for them, but the biggest and most fearsome and central boss of the entire game, or enemy rather, is the sheep beast. I've also seen it called the sheep demon, the lamb. Um, there are several different names for it, but what's interesting is it kind of combines all of the previous four entities that we've come across. Entity is a good word.
I did not realize it combined them until just now.
Yeah. So it's kind of a monologue here, so bear with me. But the sheep beast, when you first meet it, it just looks like a regular sheep. But then, as you see in the red picture in the bottom left hand corner, it starts doing extremely creepy things. For example, it gets thrown down a well and then somehow manages to come back to life, which I was able to catch a video of here. Let me see if I can grab it. And it comes back to life, and as you'll notice, it's a red scene, so it plays a pivotal part into what Mecro and I believe is the biggest thing of this entire game, because this game is going to have multiple DLCs. I don't believe they're going to release it like a chapter, like other um, games of
It's
the
going to be just like Little Nightmares 1.
Little Nightmares one, where everything is by chapter. And the worst thing about the sheep beast is it continues to grow and contort. So you can see its neck stretching out, the fact that it has several different limbs. Um, and it is basically able to shapeshift and just pop up wherever it wants. And it seems to have a very big connection to the girl, the rabbit girl. And finally, we get to the point where we get to see the entirety of the sheep beast here. Let me grab that here. Notice how it has humanoid legs, like the sniffer, arms and legs like the mother. It's highly deformed, like the pelican.
And in this scene here, there's actually symbolism for connection that people put together to this sheep beast and the Lamb of God story.
Which, if you want to explain that, I will get the rest of this set up.
So I'm not super familiar with the Lamb of God. I'm not. That is not my belief. But supposedly that the mark on its head and the way it just maneuvers and it feeds and the way we see it is just very reminiscent of the Lamb of God story. I can't speak much more than that because I'm not familiar with that story to a T.
Sheep also
But
have a lot of
yes,
symbolism in them in Christian faith, Catholic faith, even Buddhist faith. Um, Although there's highly different meanings of it. For example, in Christian, we think of the lamb as gentle, shepherd leading the flock, all of that good stuff. Buddhism is actually a little bit different. They're kind of seen as evil, uh, as as those that would in sheep's clothing, if you will. That is actually a good section, is where that saying comes from, wolf in sheep's clothing, which is really accurately portrayed in some of the videos we'll have coming up. Now, the entire story, and you've probably seen it on the side of the computer here. We had talked a little bit about some of the red scenes in Reanimal. And there's a very specific story that is told that is tied to these red scenes and flashbacks. And the order that you see on my note there is the order that we find them in the game. So let me grab the let me grab the first one here.
mhm.
And we'll walk through them through that list, and you'll see the order as we go through. Now, one thing I'll say, because there's no audio and I don't want just to sit here like we're in a silent film, is I do have the entire gameplay, and that Mecro and I, because he played through it twice, once with Nix and once with me, and I will be posting that up there. And the VOD is also up because I believe it was only a week ago,
uh, I-
maybe a week
either
and a
1 or
half.
2 weeks. I cannot remember now. It was a Thursday we played it.
That's right. And every time there's a flashback, the girl either poses or is posed a question.
And after the flashback, she always coughed something up.
So there's the first scene. The next scene where we travel along is where we're trying to catch a bus. And at this point, we have found all of our friends as we go through, because we seem to find each friend, um, Hood, Bandage, and Bucket, as we meet the four monsters as we go along, with the recurring theme of the sheep being mixed in between. Do you know why we're here? No idea. And here's where the dead sheep does creepy things.
And the dead sheep is in a well.
And then it just seamlessly goes in back into the gameplay. So there's the bus. The next section we are traveling, and nobody mentions where we're traveling to or where we started from, but we always seem to be traveling in a direction, whether it's running from something or running to something, it's hard to know. But the next item we ride is a truck. There's a sheep crawling in the well.
You okay?
I forgot I was wearing that mask.
I did too. You were very prominent about the antlers.
So after the truck, we grab a train.
And then the girl spins into a sheep. And that is the same as the sheep beast. Now, something interesting about the sheep beast, it did not look like the previous pictures you had seen. Every time it eats one of the members of the boys, being fucking hell, Bandage, Bucket, Hood, and the boy, it grows and mutates.
Which is interesting because I just realized now, as it grows and mutates, each orphan is chased or is in a scene with one of these
Of
monsters.
course, that's when she comes. Of course, that's when my wife comes in.
Of course it is. So Hood is the first one we find, and that's when we're going through and battling the sniffer. Um, we find we also find Bucket along the same lines, but as soon as we find Bucket, he's with the pelican. And the final kid, Bandage, is with the spider mother. And what's interesting is the sheep ends up devouring each and every orphan before the end of the game. And it just dawned on me that as the sheep eats each of the children, it gains the mannerisms of the entity that the orphan was paired with. So when it eats Hood, that's when it starts to become elongated and its neck starts to grow. Um, when it eats Bucket, that's when we start seeing all the scarring and the disfigurement of the head and the neck and the arms and the legs. When it eats Bandage, that's when those spidery like appendages.
Of course, this is when Neki, Kitsu, Nyx, and Doc all come in. Okay, hi guys, how
Hey,
are
we
you?
we now know the summoning word.
Yeah, apparently I just need to yell bondage and they show up. Okay.
Now, going back to the story, after the train, that's when we start seeing things that are not so much about traveling, but appear to be flashbacks to things that were happening either before or after. It seems very clear at this point that what we thought was an order of the story may or may not be the true order of what's going on.
I fuck up my sentence one time, and everyone just shows up. Just once. That's all it takes apparently.
Just once. I don't know why it cut that one off. Did I pick the wrong one? I probably did, but we'll see the longer of it in here in just a minute. And then after the ritual, interestingly enough, we come across the section which I've named Rabbit. Now, if you'll recall, the girl is in all white. She sticks out from the other three orphans very much. She's a lot brighter. She has the large light, and she's not covered in dirt or anything like that. And the majority of her face is actually shown. However, that's when we get to the rabbit scene. And this may or may not be symbolism of her, but in stories and dev guidelines, that rabbit is her pet.
And if I may, one major difference between Bandage, Bucket, Hood, the boy, and the girl is everyone has a non-lethal weapon except the girl. The girl has a knife.
Which she's very proficient with.
For some fucking reason.
Now this continues on. It's one of the longest scenes in cutscenes in the entirety of the game.
Oh, thank you for the check-in, Mooney. Oh, that's awesome, Doc.
Now, I wanted to stop here because I want you to note a couple of things. It may not be obvious, but where the girl is the one being dragged along, and she's been struggling, so she's still alive, which brings the idea that the boys killed her rabbit, which we see Bucket holding there, but they all have some different hold of a part of her. So Bucket has her pet rabbit. Her what we consider to be her brother or the boy has a hold of her, and Bandage has her lantern, and you can just barely see it, but Hood has her knife. Which is interesting because out of the 5, the girl and Hood are the only girl orphans, according to the devs. And then you might notice also in the background, you can kind of see creepy standing or different levels of standing sheep. And this is where the numbers come in. So interestingly enough, and I might play this a couple times actually, because we already know that one of the main story items is the number 5. There's 5 kids. They start off with 1, they go up to 5, and then eventually they all go back down to 1 again. But we also see the symbolism throughout the game. For example, we'll show here in a minute, uh, there's 5 rabbits in the game. When you wander certain places, there's dolls, and there's always 5 or 7 of them. And then, of course, there's also some of the different items that you find throughout the game, like the coffins for the secret ending. There's 5 of them. So, and each one of those coffins depicts a different orphan and what we thought was their deaths. But let's finish this one out here. Yeah. Let's see if I
We
can.
love anthropomorphic sheep after throwing a girl into a well.
Right, right. I also find it very interesting that the boy is the only one that has a rope and he's the one pulling the rope, which makes me, can we even see if he has the rope around his neck at this point? I
If you
don't think
rewind it a little
so.
bit, where it'd be around his back is where the thing is. So let it play a little from the water. Yes, he still has his rope on his back there.
Okay. But right about there, in the background, this is where I first noticed it. There's 5 sheep that specifically stand out in this one picture. There's one behind Bucket. There's another one over his other shoulder. There's one behind the boy. There's one actually they're all pretty much lined up. There's one
Yes, except the two
behind
behind Bucket
Bandage. Yep. And there's one behind Hood.
Hood.
However, as you keep going, you'll notice that 2 others start showing up from the outside. Now, whether that was purposeful or it just happens to be a panning of the game is, up for some debate until we learn more. So you can see the not the 2 sheep in the foreground, but you can see behind Hood another sheep next to the one in front has shown up, and let me see. Another one is over the shoulder of the sheep behind Bucket. So it makes me wonder if there's actually 7 children and we've only been introduced to these 5 so far.
And this is may be a continuing cycle.
Now, the final episode that we see in the entirety of the game is the well itself. Now, mind you, this is considered the original ending. So that's considered the original ending. That's if you manage to get through the entirety of the game without getting the 5
The coffin.
coffins, which we were so close. And then we actually backed up to get it, and we borked the entire game because of a glitch. It was fantastic.
Oh yeah,
Um,
45 minutes of scuff and realizing that there's a game-breaking bug that if you try to reload at one save point, you can't play it.
which it makes me wonder if that's they might have actually put that there to keep people from getting the 5th one anyway. But if you manage to get all 5 of the coffins, you get this secret ending. And this is the one that has no audio for it, so I do apologize. But yeah, different masks. You might notice there's 5. Now there's 6. And then right in the back, there's 7 of them. And then we get a top view of the well.
And this part is also separate from the secret ending.
and then it goes to the end cycle. Now, I wanted to bring this up for a couple of reasons. One is, let's see if I can get them all on screen here. Right about there. If you look at the masks, um, they are not all the same. There appears to be some kind of deer, a pig, some kind of bird, a fox, and a fish. But what's also interesting is something Mecro pointed out about the girl.
Yes, in this scene, the girl doesn't have her mask on. As we zoom in closer to, as the video keeps playing, the one closest to her head kind of rotates her face, and you can see her nose, which you couldn't see throughout this entire game. There's one at her feet reaching out to her that to me looks like it's wearing the rabbit mask. Before
And
it
if
cuts
you
to black, it
well,
reaches
and if
out
you
to her.
keep watching, it gives her the mask. It crawls up beside her. It hands off the mask to the one that looks like the fox, which is over on the right-hand side there.
Hmm.
There goes the handoff. And then they actually
And then
pass it down the line
and then they put her body under the water.
and they give it to the girl and put her body under the water. Now, like we were talking about earlier, the order of these red scenes, this is the order that you find them in the game. And there is one other, but I'm under the impression that it's in a different order. And Mech and I, very interestingly, had a different order of how we thought it should actually go. So, Mech, did you want me to play yours first?
Yeah, you can play mine first.
Okay. So this took me forever, but I took the scenes, cut them into pieces, reordered them, and this is what Mech's version of the order might look like. Unfortunately, it is not sized right. Come on.
Come on, you can do it. Maybe. There it goes. I'm gonna just let them all play through and
Then do your spiel.
yeah. It's black. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah,
It's
there's
taking
just
its time.
some, yeah,
No, you're fine. I'm just trying to make sure because there's nothing else that moves. I want to make sure I'm still seeing live video and it's not just stopped.
right.
So I guess I can kind of go just because these, I do forget how long these take.
Yeah.
So I do think the luring the girl into the barn first just made sense in my mind. Get her where her pet rabbit was dead, or symbolization of her, and corner her, if you will. Once she's cornered, take her to the well, the place of probable sacrifice, more than likely sacrifice. Um, I'll be honest, I need to see what the next scenes are because my brain is not remembering the order I put them in.
But the main
And I
thing
don't
I
know why.
think that's different between yours and mine is you start off with the ritual, which we'll see what.
Yes.
And the blinking of the light there is very interesting as well.
Hmm. But I start with the ritual because in later scenes the girl is not present. Or if she is present, it's due to other circumstances. So then once the goats do their thing, the well happens, the boys are looking down into the well, the world starts to flood. The well starts to flood. And that's why I think this is the order that it's in, because throughout the game there are massive bodies of water where there probably shouldn't be water, which tells me the ritual was to either end a drought or stop the war that's happening on this land. But instead of just giving what they wanted, it gave and took. It the whatever they were trying to do worked, but with the monkey's paw kind of thing. They got the water to stop whatever they needed, and the war would have stopped, but the water kept coming, causing a flood. Sorry, I'm making sure I drink things.
You're fine. I think I put both the original ending and the secret ending on there.
Yeah. And I personally think that these things here, if this is a cycle the way I think it is, are the previous children that were sacrificed. I just had another thought.
Well, we'll squirrel in a minute. Save it for the squirreling section.
Yes, I know. I just you forget. I didn't take my meds today.
This is true.
Actually,
Eh,
I did because Nick said, "Fuck it, it's Friday. Take them." So I took them really late.
I think I can skip through this part because we saw the
Yeah, you
water.
can.
There we
This
go.
is where the water flows up out, and then this is where the girl's body would be, but in the name Reanimal, it's reanimate mixed with animal. Hence the sheep where the girl's body was. I think the sheep. Oh, how do I word this? My words are not coming to me, and I don't want to fuck up like I did with Bandage's name. The girl is a host of sorts, and the sheep is using her to traverse around. Every time we see the red flashing lights, something of that nature, she's being asked a question. I think it's a rage that's building up, and at one point she just can't take it anymore, and it just expels itself forward, thus continuing the cycle after the sheep eats the girl.
And so Mech is saying that he thinks the well that we see here is the girl. Like we're looking inside of her.
Yes.
And when the sheep
Uh-huh.
starts climbing, it climbs up and out of her.
Almost like how you, when you get angry, you kind of just feel yourself boiling up over. This is the representation. Until it just spills forward here. However, in this case, it's murderously doing so. Oh well. And then
This,
when the
yeah.
lamb takes off, this is where we would have found the girl. After the well floods over, after everyone is gone, this is what we're left with. Because after everything that the boys have done to her, she now wants to try to kill him back.
Now, this is Mech's story, the idea that uh, they go through and she's reanimated and brought back to life.
Yes.
My idea was a little bit in a different order. And so this is how I think that the order went. I think the whole traveling aspect was to get to an end. Kind of like, do you know why we're here? No. I think they're treating it almost as an exorcism of some kind of sort. She's got this evil demon inside of her. So Mech and I both agree on that. And I agree that the well is also the inside of the girl because there's a scene which I could not get a capture of where the girl eats the sheep eats the girl. So we see all this traveling by bus, by truck, and she keeps having these episodes and they keep asking her if she's okay. And you'll notice on the ground there, she keeps spitting up things. So my idea was that they're traveling all the way to get to the well. That there's some kind of idea that the well is where she needs to go because there's something significant about it and it's tied directly to her. And that's where the sheep, I'm going to fast forward here, in the background come up because I don't want to watch this huge long thing. And it's not lost on me that each of the orphans here have something as hers, almost as if they're signifying that maybe they weren't actually hers and she took something from them. And then the sheep symbolize their need to get her back. So right before this point, she goes through a series and it's gameplay where you have to walk through, and if you're playing as the girl, you can't actually move forward unless the person that's playing the boy or the AI opens the pathway for you.
And they
Which
do so by calling for her.
mhm. And they call her into this barn, which is interesting because the barn is also the site where we see the pelican. So it's not quite clear who is actually calling to her. We assume it's the boy, but because there's so many few voice acted lines, I think there's what, maybe 8? There's
Yeah, 8
actually
official and 13 with the 5 that are cut.
mhm. So it's my idea that here they lure her in with the rabbit. And one thing nobody I didn't think to point out until now is look at her feet. There are 4 rabbits drawn on the ground, but her actual rabbit is the 5th one at the top. So there's the number 5. There's also rabbits hanging from the ceiling. They're very shadowy. When you turn around, you kind of see them there. Yeah. And here we hear somebody get hit. You hear her hit the floor. And this is where, they drop her down the well. So there's four there, but the gaps to me are very questionable. It looks to me like you see Hood at the top, Bucket to the right. You see, I think that's Bandage at the bottom, and the boy to the left. But between Hood and Bucket and the boy and Bandage, there seems to be a larger gap, almost as if two other people are missing that would bring their number from 5 up to 7. I also had this thought process that maybe they're so good at this because it's a cycle. This keeps happening to them, almost as if they're being tortured and they have to go through and get rid of people and get rid of each other. And I wondered if the order was very specific to the order that the sheep eats them, like as if the sheep, who was the last person that the sheep ate, maybe were the one that was sacrificed before. And it seems to me that as it progresses, they're either losing more orphans or gaining more animals, if that makes sense. Kind of reanimaling, if you will.
That just gave me another idea for when we squirrel.
So there's the rabbits again. We see her knife. It's almost as if they're trying to drag her back out of the sheep. So the idea is that they get the ritual over with, and they magically somehow know where she is in this entirety. And the boy goes back and finds them, finds the girl. Let's skip through this. And all of this because of this ritual here. And they're in the same order as they stand over the well. And this is where she's raised back up. And we start to see the sheep reemerge. I'll skip through this here. There's the masks that I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of it is just the sheep kind of mutating and growing almost as if it's all one thing, because here it's very interesting that it's not white. It's all white. It's not red until there when it starts standing up and doing the creepiness.
The creepy bone
The
crackles.
eepy eepy beaky. Yeah, I'm so glad I muted that because that just, oh,
Really, that sound gets to you?
only because I've broken a few of my own bones.
There, I've never broken anything, so that's very valid.
And this is the entire chain of it climbing up out
Also, I
of
want to
her.
point out it doesn't have hands here crawling up out.
Yeah.
It doesn't have hands until it starts consuming the children.
And here she coughs it up and it starts chasing the rest of them. Now, Mech and I do a lot of research on these when we're doing them, and we squirrel pretty much every Tuesday night over
And
it. This
then we have a whole chat we use just talking ideas.
one of the things we missed, and then I is that there are some people that posit that the game tells you the order, not through gameplay, but through one very specific scene which you can actually run by in game, and miss completely. And that is when you are running from the sniffer through a
He's in the
movie
theater.
theater. And you run past this. 5 white rabbits. Somebody dies. Everything wilts as the top rabbit dies.
So the four killed at once.
So, the people that have this idea, and I'm going to drag it through here and slow it down, is that the beginning ring here is the well. Where is it? Is the well that turns into the 5 rabbits. So there's 5 kids, they're frolicking, playing around, whatever. Then one of them dies, which is what that symbolizes. And it's not the girl. They're saying it's not the girl because she's shown up later. So they premise that somebody dies and some kind of curse comes along and it makes everything start shriveling. We see the rabbit starting to die. We see the 4 other orphans at the top. So and then this is the interesting part where the rabbit's in the middle while the 4 other ones are around playing. There we see the rabbit actually being, well, actually that's a sheep, isn't it?
Hmm.
The sheep, a burning building, which they say is indicative of the barn,
Okay.
and then somebody coming back to life because there's the eye again, but it's coming back down instead of going up, and the rabbit being dead. So people think based off of this one, the order from the sign there is well, and then the rabbit, the ritual, the oh well that's the well, sorry. Then we have the traveling, the sheep coming back to life. So it's actually almost in a backwards order from the game, which is
Hmm.
interesting.
I never cut that. We even sat there
Hi
and watched that,
Max.
and I didn't piece that together.
Oh, your stream started over. Oh no, Max. Thank you for the 3 stream streak. So, my question becomes, how are the monsters and the sheep demon connected? The brook horse seems to be the only one that isn't directly connected to anything. And that makes me
Sure it is.
wonder. I'm sorry?
I said, sure it is. That's the head of the final sheep beast.
You don't think that's a horse?
I mean, I think it's a horse, but there's no other part of it that fits anywhere else. Either that or it's the extra set of hands. Oh, hold on. I have
I
a
got
bot.
it. I got it. Keep going.
Thank you. But yeah, no, I think the brook horse is either part of the sheep being its hands and head because of how abnormally oblong and stretched out the sheep's head is, especially because it has the hole in the center of it when it's at its second largest state. Or I don't think I think the brook horse might also just serve strictly as the uh what's the word? Just like its Scandinavian counterpart. It is just there as to drown the children.
I wonder if each of these each of these items, except the spider mother, is the only one that I can't seem to fit in it, because we've seen through the movie, and some of the other scenes that there are at least 5 to 7 animals represented. There's a horse, a fox, a sheep, a rabbit, um, a bird. Wait, fox, dun, 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 dun. And then the last two, the sniffer and the mother, are interesting. And some of
Max.
it doesn't fit in the spider mother. Well, I mean, there is an interesting correlation between this creepy thing, but it's just interesting to me how there's recurring themes, but it's all confusing as to if it's symbolism, if it's something physical or real, or
Damn it,
Max,
Max.
or what's actually going on with all of it. Now there are other scenes that we haven't introduced, like there's a huge war scene. There's soldiers. There's a scene with a gigantic pig, a
That
gigantic
can
pig
speak
that can speak and saves you from the pelican. I've never been so happy for bacon in my life.
and eats another pig.
But also, if you recall, the pig is in the barn, which then catches fire, which brings us back to that horror movie of the barn
Yes.
being on fire. But oddly enough, there's also an ice cream truck. Um,
The way
let
the
me
sniffer gets around.
one of the ways. Well, he is very humanoid. He rides a bicycle, he can drive, he can open doors, he can use washing machines. He's got a whole bunch of things that he can do. And other than some of the creepy things like he can, use bodies to get from one place to another. I do have some of the ice cream. Here we go. I do have
Did
the
you
ice.
want the piano scene?
I mean, we can. I forgot about the piano scene.
That one just to me is
Now, this one,
what's the word?
interesting enough, I don't think this has a red part in it. This is the part where the sheep gets back up. Oh, it does turn red after it. That's why.
I did find the quick 30-second video of it if you wanted to use it. If not, we don't have
Yeah,
to.
send it to me. But there's some way that all of these are connected, and whether or not there's two others missing, or if maybe they're supposed to symbolize other things, I just noticed something else. These blue pictures are directly from Reanimal's website, and they're actually figurines you can buy. But there's Hood's holding a pig, Bucket's got fish, and Bandage seems to be sitting on a giant pile of skins. And Bandage seems to be the only one that we know of that actually has like a humanesque looking head. So that's interesting as well. Let me grab this here.
But you know what we can see
Hmm.
strictly on uh Hood specifically.
Hmm.
He's got you can see it in this one. In other art, you can see it on the other side. He's got 6 holes on his hood, 3 on one side, 3 on the other.
Oh yeah, and there's a section where we see the square on the well, I get this the square on
Soldiers
the
in the circle on the
the
boy.
the boy the boy you can't really see it. He's got, let's see if I can find a picture here real quick. The boy has a square on um his shirt, and there's a scene. Okay, here we go. Let me grab this here. Sorry, y'all. Bear with me. This is always the part where I have to try to do things as fast as possible.
You're fine.
This is why I run this. I've got stuff
Yes, I would have a
everywhere.
panic attack.
So there's
I'm
the
not sure if mine
boy.
can hear the music. I'll turn it up a tad bit.
So there's the boy.
I can try to see if I can find the soldiers lined up.
And then here's the girl.
I'm sending you something for later. I think that's hilarious.
Oop, I just noticed she only has one eye, too.
Answer left eye. Give me.
Kind of like the whale, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But with each section, there is a kid.
What? What the hell?
Oh, somebody used the flamethrower on the screen for the
Oh,
spider.
I'm like, what in the hell was that?
Sorry.
You're fine.
Oh, that's funny.
I forgot I can hear your stream stickers on my end if you're
If they're
sharing your
on the,
screen.
yeah. And then here is, I should just have a blank screen up here, but here are some of the soldiers. The whole thing is very just freaky deaky. Oh, that's giant. Hold on. That's what she said. Where did it go?
Do I need to say what I said yesterday?
Maybe.
Everil has.
Ads. Ads.
Yeah.
The word is ads, not AIDS.
Damn, that image is massive. I am so sorry.
Gigantic image. There we go.
Now, yes, it is the meme, but that is what the soldiers looked like.
So Mech had brought up an idea of maybe the boys all went to war, and that's why, they all seem to have very similar um they all seem to have very similar outfits. They all seem to have like the same coat and the same patched, and like, they've got weller boots on, and they're dark and nobody can see their faces, whereas the girl, like we mentioned, is very bright. You can see the majority of her face. I find it very interesting, and I kept bringing it up. She has no shoes. Woman has no shoes.
Yes.
Um, so Mecro had brought up that what if all of the boys were like consigned to the war, like he said in his when we did his movie, and they were trying to end the war by bringing the sheep demon back. Um, One thought I also had was maybe the girl's not even there. Maybe she's a ghost and just following them around like Ethereal, and that's why they opened the scene with the boat. I thought you were dead.
But yeah.
You said you thought of some other things, Macro?
I did think of some other things, and not all of them are entirely of my own idea. It is from outside influences that I have heard of. Um, I heard the possible theory that yes, this is a cycle. Yes, this is something continuously happening. But what if that because there is the tide to the Lamb of God and things of that nature? What if this is hell? This is their hell, reliving everything that they've done to this point because the way everything works and stretches in time doesn't quite fit. We already see how all the boys died with the coffins. We have the one that blew up. We have the one that was shot in gunfire. We have the one that was pushed off of a ledge in the orphanage. And we have the one that jumped off a cliff. So what if this is them reliving their personal hells because of the sacrifice that they've done?
And so the title of itself, Mecca brought up that, he thought Reanimal was like reanimation, but maybe they're being reanimated into these. Here you can see the animals in the background. We've got the sheep, we've got the spider in the back. There's the pig. Um, you have the barn. So a lot of the artwork also. There's a tugboat. There's cars. There's trains. There's ships. The rowboat. Um, Very interestingly, though, I don't see the sniffer, the brook horse, or anything like that. So are the animals maybe? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the sheep, and it is the spider mother. It's only got two hands, and the rest of it are nubs.
What if
Sorry.
No, you're fine. What if the animals are the deities of this world? I know we've talked about it when we were streaming the game that there were the rabbit statues. You had the rabbit head. The rabbit's very significant. They pray to rabbit statues. What if these are the deities and whatever they prayed to or sacrificed for their curse or whatever they want to be lifted, the wrong thing answered?
Like some kind
They
of cultist
sacrificed,
thing.
yeah, they sacrificed a rabbit, but threw it down a well next to the sheep. And so far from what we
Ah, where'd you go? Sorry, it cut out. Hold on. Necro. Sorry.
You're fine. Did your thing crash again?
Yeah. Let me see here. There we go.
Cool.
No, it just flashed up a giant Discord is blah 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 blah, and it was gone.
So what did you hear last?
Uh the deities and the
Yes.
I yeah.
So he sacrificed the rabbit and threw it down a well next to the sheep. Well, the only thing that we've noticed so far in this game is the only statues around that have candles that they pray to that they might use are the rabbit statues. So what if them thinking that killing the rabbit was the proper sacrifice, they actually slaughtered this world's version of Zeus, their highest god?
And there's actually a picture. Let me see if I can get it here. The rabbit shrine is also interesting because once again, the number of them. Let me see if I can grab this. Let me see here. But there's lots of ideas going around, and I wonder as we get more of the different images, if maybe it's going to be the same items over and over again, or if it's going to be um, more like if it's going to be more like a continuation of the story, if you will.
Yeah. I need to readjust real quick.
So there are the rabbit shrines, and there's one, two, three, four, five of them. So we see five and seven again.
And every time we see the shrines, there's only ever five. There's only five in the game to light. When you get to the last area to where you can unlock the secret rabbit hat that you can wear, there's five there that signify all the five that have been lit up. There's only ever five rabbit statues. And the kids kill the rabbit.
And there's
These are
five
not normal. Hmm?
there's five rabbits, there's five kids, and there's five major enemies.
Hmm.
But what if the other two, they're all orphans, but what if the other two are the mom and dad? Because the sniffer, or something like that, because the sniffer is as a man in a fedora and a dark suit, and then we have the spider mother
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to fit into anything. And the spider mother was at an orphanage. Makes me wonder if maybe again the symbolism and all the representation is another, that maybe they aren't really animals. Maybe they're just representations, kind of like, kids think of big bad monsters, big scary monsters, with things that like animals, or these horrific detached things.
Trying to think of what else we could tie into this. Let me look something up here. I do apologize, everyone. Trying to look things up is not my fast suit.
But everything revolves and is tied to the sheep somehow, which is odd because there really isn't. The sheep is tied to the girl who wears her mask of a rabbit, but there are also other animals, as we've seen, and some are good, most of them are bad. And the sheep is the only one that seems to encompass all of the other monsters. Um, The war is interesting though, because there's different, you run through different places like abandoned buildings, there's a clock tower, houses, there's a whole trench. Uh there's a scene with nothing but like a giant battleship which are underwater. Nothing seems to be current except for the creatures in it, meaning the battlefield seems to be old, decrepit, and abandoned, but there's these faceless soldiers. The cities are all broken down and apocalyptic. Also, an interesting thing is the song that we see at the end when the boys are looking down. I looked it up earlier. That song is in Little Nightmares 2 and Little Nightmares 1.
Oh, is it?
And some have posited that it's all the same song, just possibly different versions, and it's all sung or hummed by the same person because it's
Oh,
all.
that's neat.
So now, from what I understand of the devs, most of the devs actually didn't. It's not that they were fired; they actually left when they were creating Little Nightmares 3, and that's because they didn't like the direction it was going. And the difference between Little Nightmares 1 and Little Nightmares 2 is everybody thinks they're the same story because between 1 and 2 there's one recurring character. But we only see the character Six from the first game for very little, and she actually seems to have lost all of her powers, and we're actually following around a new figure, and nothing looks familiar. Everything has the same theme of decrepit, abandoned, broken down, but nothing seems to be actively lived in, almost as if their memories are broken down memories or some kind of flashbacks, or in this case, maybe PTSD, which is most commonly associated with war.
Hmm.
One of the other theories that I read about was that what if all of this is the girl's thought, and that's why she looks so different, as if it's almost a dream and everything she sees looks this way, but she doesn't see herself. So you talked about how the kids and their coffins, they all have markings of somehow dying. So Bucket, uh he's got, well, buckets of fish and things like that. but his coffin, if I recall, was kicked off a ledge into water. um, Bandage is sitting on top of a group of skins, and we find him in a battlefield, almost like he died in the trenches. Hood has holes shot in her face, and again, like you said, there's 8 of them, much like a spider. Um, and the boy has the noose around his neck. And when we're running through the game, there's actually that section which I just realized I never played. Sorry. Ooh, someone's making popcorn and it smells good. Where'd it go? There's the piano scene. Rude.
Yes, I love the piano scene. I actually think uh Bandage's death coffin was the one at the sea mine,
Well, that's true
the one
because
that got blown up
maybe like shrapnel,
like shrapnel.
possibly.
Because there's not much left after you go boom.
True. Let's see
Hood, I
here.
remember his was the first one we found, and that's the one that jumped off the cliff.
Sorry, let me resize this. Stupid YouTube and your stupid sizings.
You're
Never
fine.
being the same ever. Ever. Let's make that bigger. Make it bigger.
You think, no, should we back it off? Should we leave it alone? You think, no, let's make it bigger. I can't hear that. It's fine. I can bring up the video on my end.
Yeah. So that's a thing. And it's the only real, honestly pretty thing, as pretty as it can be, in the entirety of the game. And honestly, it's the only real life sound we hear other than like there's no other sounds are really that loud except like the cars don't go off. There might be a foghorn, but it's very distant. And in reality, the entirety of the world in Reanimal is very, very quiet. And so that's what makes that one scene so striking is that it's so quiet and serene, but like amongst what was it you said, Mekro? Amongst the battlefield, somebody took a moment to play the
Yes.
piano.
Amongst the battlefield, right before we start getting shot at by other soldiers and we start hearing the guns of war and tanks firing their missiles, a lone soldier in his last few moments, an open sight of a sniper, takes his last few things to be serene and to play the piano. And as we walk up upon him, we see his life being taken by an enemy sniper.
What's also interesting is this is the only section in the entire game where one of the hats or the collectibles that we have, like the masks, because there are certain masks you collect. This is the only scene in the entirety of the game where they actually have a purpose. And that's if you get shot by the sniper, your helm falls off. But that's it. You get one try. You don't find anything else. It's one hit and you're done.
If you don't get hit, you're stuck with that helm until the end of the game or you find a new hat. Or you both die. That's
All right.
also the option.
Or you crash the game and go into a
Yeah, or
angry
you go
spiral
back
for
and try to go
45
get the
minutes.
last. Yeah, when you go back and try to find the last coffin in the area that you ran past thinking there wouldn't be anything because you checked other doors, in the one corner that's hidden in the dark is where the last coffin is.
But we're not salty.
45 fucking minutes over a game breaking. I'm wondering if. Hold on, I need to see if they ever fix that.
But yeah, that was pretty much all of the ideas that we had that surrounded Reanimal, and it's going to be a very interesting game. And we might come back to it and do more analyzing as the different games come out. Now, right now, there's not really a section where they're saying it's going to be out this day or that day. They're not doing anything like Poppy Playtime where they're dropping hints or anything like that. It's just kind of a whole wait and see thing. Now, my question is, this game was what, 6 hours long? It was a 6 hours long
Uh,
game. Or was it
for a
5?
regular playthrough without looking for things, it was 5. We were trying to be completionists. It took us about 6.
Well, with the 45-minute, yeah.
And
Huh.
that's with me knowing what to do.
5 again. Interesting.
Interesting.
Interesting. So there's animals, there's the numbers 5 and 7, and then there's the red light through all of this.
Still fucking salty about that game breaking bug.
But yeah, that's
Also,
that's
they
Reanimal.
did not fix it.
They did not fix it. Oh,
It
lovely.
is still not fixed as of a week ago.
Nice.
So if you're trying to complete it, don't
Go
miss the one we missed.
get yourself a walkthrough.
Oh, that's great. So that's Reanimal. That's our private eye for it. I think that's all we had to talk about on it.